I vividly remember as a kid sitting in church at Mass, being intrigued by certain things that the priest was doing at the altar. Purifying his vessels was one of them, especially the part where he's cleaning the cup part of the chalice with a twisting motion of his hands. If you notice, I do that. Because I remember seeing a priest at the altar at Mass doing that, cleaning his chalice with the twisting motion, and then he puts the purificator on top of the chalice, rather neatly but quickly, and then places the paten over it. But the other thing that puzzled me, though, the one other thing that the priest was doing up there at the altar was the washing of his hands. I can't tell you how many times as a little boy I was tempted to walk up to the altar and hand Father a bar of soap. I kid you not. Because I was taught from a very young age that the proper way to wash your hands was by lathering your hands with soap, right? Under clean running water, especially warm water. And so I remember thinking, as I was sitting in the pew with my mother, I remember thinking, okay, I'll cut Father some slack this time. Even though he's using that little thing, which is called a cruet. And I thought, eventually he's going to have to learn to use soap. And by the way, I think the other thing was, why isn't he doing this 20-second rule? Because if you notice, there are priests who would just do this for like 1 second and then go on to the next thing. So I was very observant as a kid, especially at Mass. Although I did not understand a lot of the things that were going on, but I'm just telling you this from a child's perspective. So please, I am not looking for a bar of soap, okay? So just, I'm sure you know that. Well, what we have to understand, though, is that the hand-washing ritual in Jesus' time was not for cleanliness. It wasn't. It was purely ceremonial. It was a prescribed ritual done as a show of piety. Now, as far as the Torah is concerned, the only people who must perform ritual hand-washing are the priests. But there is reason to suggest that by the first century, the Pharisees were encouraging all Jews to keep the cultic purity rites of the priest, and hand-washing would have been one of them. In our gospel from Mark today, we witness the disapproval of the Pharisees over the disciples' failure to wash their hands, according to the ritualistic tradition of the elders. Their questioning Jesus is also a way of accusing him of not following the law himself. When Jesus calls the Pharisees hypocrites, not only is it a condemnation of empty worship, but also a condemnation of the scribes and the Pharisees' distortion of tradition in order to circumvent the law. Today's gospel reminds us that inner disposition and attitude are the foundations of outer observance. In other words, while pious practices, traditions, and individual devotions are good things, as I mentioned earlier, especially if they can help us grow closer to God, we must take care to ensure that they do not become the thing itself, but rather the thing that points us always to God, that points us to love of God and love of others. Not to divide, not to have a more Catholic than you mentality, or this parish is not as Catholic as that parish. That's that kind of mentality. That's really that's I hate to say it, but it's true. It's Satan's work of trying to divide us and trying to lead us astray. Pious practices and devotions are not meant as a tool for division. They're not. And we should take care not to fall into the trap of Pharisaism, that is, caring more about the letter of the law and external piety than the true meaning behind it. The good things our Catholic tradition calls us to do must always be done in service to fostering a deeper relationship with Jesus and obeying God's command.
Remain in church for the Holy Rosary. And
Thank you for joining us for the celebration of the Mass today. It's a blessing that you are with us. Every broadcast of this liturgy goes out to hundreds of people and hundreds of people all over the world. It's been an enormous blessing. If you'd like to support this virtual ministry of OLPH, please go to our website. You can support this ministry by going to Give Central so that we can continue to broadcast the liturgy each and every week. Thank you for your support. Most of all, thank you for joining us today. God bless you. Greetings from OLPH. Thank you for joining us for this